Thank you. Right now we will retard the colors. All right. All right. Here's the moment you guys have been waiting on. Y'all ready for this guy? Y'all come on. Are y'all ready for it? Hey, Heather Moore. You're introducing Heather Moore. Okay. Oh, there's another guy. Y'all, hey, he comes. Heather Moore. Y'all give it up for Heather.
No, I'm not singing. I'm just going to speak. Hey, Robertsdale, Alabama. How is everybody in Baldwin County today? Look, we have told Jim and Polly Jordan this is real America right here. You folks that are out here in the rain to support Barry and to come here to see Jim, our great Freedom Caucus member. You know, a little bit of a troublemaker. We hear tell it. We hear tell we got a couple of troublemakers here, but that's okay. I'm here to introduce you to Polly Jordan's husband. Barry, Heather Moore's husband is here tonight too. But it's very rare in politics that you make true friends. You know, you always are kind of looking over your shoulder in politics and you wonder, is this person really my friend? And I always tell people the good thing about politics is you find out who your friends are. The bad thing about politics is you find out who your friends are. And it's rare in politics to make true good friends. And Polly and Jim Jordan have been those true good friends to Barry and I. We had a little event today in Dothan, and a lady came over to Polly and I, and she was like, thank you so much for what you two do, because you're wives and you're in the fight too. And, you know, we put our arms around each other and we're like, we have each other. You know, a lot of us wives, especially the Freedom Caucus wives, we stick together in D.C. We do stuff together. We pray for each other. We pray for each other's kids. We pray for each other's grandkids. Polly and I had grandbabies this year at just about the same time. They're just a few days apart. And we prayed both of those babies into the world. So it is just my honor to say that Chairman Jim Jordan should be Speaker Jim Jordan, but that's just my opinion. I think he's the speaker that America wanted. He's certainly the speaker that I wanted, but that's okay. God's got a plan for Jim Jordan and for that. So it is my distinct honor to welcome to Baldwin County, Alabama, Polly Jordan's husband, Chairman Jim Jordan.
Oh, it's working. Thank you, Heather. Good to be with you all. What a nice crowd. Thanks for coming out on a beautiful, sunny Baldwin County. Retired Master Sergeant Norman Hubin. Is Norman here? Right here on the front row. I wondered who this. Thank you for your service and thank you for this palm. We appreciate your service to the country. God bless you. Yeah. Right on the front row where you belong. This is great. I might just read this. We got a minute or two, don't we? I'm a retired veteran of the United States Armed Forces. We the people. During my active duty years, we the people. I fought for God and country, blessed by we the people. The path I chose was the road not taken by we the people. They were the best years of my life, unbeknown by we the people. The hardships I endured will never be shared by we the people. For over 20 years in uniform, now I dress we the people. Time moves on. Say, freedom is not for we the people. When it was said that old soldiers never die, they just fade away by we the people, when the time has come and my years are spent, I'll be buried by we the people. Well done, Norman. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, look at that. Barrymore hat, but not that we had that plan, but it says we the people. I need that. When you get old like me and the hair, it starts blowing everywhere. Let me just I said this morning to a group. This is our second event with Barry and Heather today. And I said this to the group earlier today. Yeah, sit down. Anyone's got a chair? The rest of you, I guess we only got chairs here for some. Yeah. I I said this one. How many of you watched the State of the Union a year ago? We're getting ready. Joe Biden's going to come back again, but so Barry and I go to every. Barry, I've been to 17. These Barry and I were at the State of the Union, and I always tell folks, the State of the Union address is sort of the closest thing to pageantry we have in America. We don't have the like Great Britain. We don't have the King and the Queen. We got the State of the Union address, and it's a neat thing. It's in the House chamber. The chamber is full. You got the House members there, the members of the Senate. You got the Supreme Court. You got the foreign diplomats, all the press, all the lights, and it's a big to-do. And so we were at the one this past year, and it was frankly, it was a typical speech from Joe Biden. It was pretty bad, right? But the response, I thought, was amazing. And I don't know if you watched the response, but it was Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Any of you remember seeing what she said? Yeah, she was great. And remember, that's not easy because, again, when you're doing the State of the Union, I'm not saying that's easy, but it's at least in this, the cameras, the lights, the press, and all that thing going on. When you're doing the response, it is just you in a room talking to a camera. But I thought she knocked it out of the park. And her best line, I thought, was when she said, "The divide in America today is normal versus crazy." And I thought, it's so true. You step and think that, normal people like here in South Alabama, we view things in the way the crazy left thinks about it. I mean, think about it. It is crazy to defund the police. I mean, there's no other way. That's just stupid, right? That's crazy. It is crazy to say we shouldn't have a border, which is frankly the situation we're in right now. It is, yeah, we gotta, this is something we're focused on as a body in frankly the Judiciary Committee, which Barry and I sit on. It is crazy to think that non-citizens should vote. It is crazy to think that boys should compete against girls in sports, right? You can just, the list is almost endless with where today's left wants to take our great nation. One of my favorites. It is crazy to think that you should let a Chinese spy balloon, remember this one? I mean, think of it. First of all, I always say in that sentence, Chinese and spy are the key words, right? It is crazy to think you should let a Chinese spy balloon fly clear across the continental United States and then shoot it down. I told the group this morning, I'm just a country boy from Western Ohio. I think I'd have shot it down before it went across the country. I know folks in Alabama would have, right? And more importantly, or maybe most importantly, I know President Trump would have shot it down before it went across that country, for goodness sake. So this is what's at stake today. And it is so important that we have people involved. Because again, where the left wants to go, they want to undermine those important principles that Norman fought for, that so many people in this audience have fought for. I'm sure we got tons of veterans out there. Thank you all for your service. Thank the law enforcement here too. By the way, we're talking about defund the police. Thank you. I tell folks, we can recover from all the stupid things that Joe Biden's doing, right? I mean, think about what's happened in 4 years. We've literally went from a secure border to no border. We went from safe streets to record crime. We went from $2 gas, their crazy energy policy. From $2 gas, we went to $3, $4, $5 gas. We went from stable prices to record inflation, all in, frankly, 3 years of Joe Biden. And we've went from President Trump, who projects strength from the Oval Office, to Joe Biden, who projects, Joe Biden, right? Right? But we can recover from all that. What scares me the most, and frankly, where Barry and I spend most of our time as members of Congress, particularly on the Judiciary Committee, what scares me the most is what they're doing to our fundamental liberties. How they've taken these agencies, turned these agencies against we the people. They're supposed to serve we the people, but instead have been weaponized against we the people. That's what scares me the most. Coming after your Second Amendment liberties, your Fourth Amendment rights. But the one that really frightens me is what they're doing to our First Amendment rights. Stop and think about it. We have 5 fundamental liberties our founders gave us when they put together the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, in that First Amendment. Most fundamental rights we have, 5. Your right to practice your faith. Your right to assemble like we're doing today. Your right to petition your government, to come up to your member of Congress and yell at him and tell him what needs to be done. That's a right you have under the First Amendment. Free press, free speech. 5 rights. Every single one has been attacked. Think about during COVID. We had local governments tell American citizens you can't go to church on Sunday in America. That is as scary as it gets. I remember, Nancy Pelosi closed the Capitol. You couldn't go to your Capitol to petition your member of Congress to redress your grievances because Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let you in the building you pay for. Free press, think about free press. I remember Jen Psaki. So this literally, I'm sitting in our office is in the Rayburn building. We're sitting in our office, some of our staff there. And Jen Psaki comes on for the daily press briefing. Now think about it. The White House is considered the center of freedom on the planet. The White House. Present in the West Wing, in the press room of the White House, the press spokesperson for the most powerful person on the planet, the President of the United States, that person stands at that podium in front of the press right there, and she says these two sentences. Most Americans now get their news from social media platforms. We, the Biden administration, are trying to limit what they see on those social media platforms. And she made that statement. I looked at our staff and I said, did she just say what I think she did? Did the press spokesperson for the President of the United States just say she's for limiting the press? That's where the left wants to go. But I always tell folks, you think about the 5 rights we enjoy under the First Amendment, the most important one is your right to talk, your right to speak. Because if you can't speak, you can't practice. You don't have a free press. You can't petition it is the most fundamental liberty we have. And that's the one they're really going after. That's why it's so important that you're involved in the political process. I told the group this morning, the main reason I come out and talk for good guys like Barry Moore is to thank you to the people who are in the game. You're in there fighting. I learned a long time ago, I said this a lot because it's just the truth. I learned a long time ago, good things in life do not just happen. You want to accomplish anything that matters, anything of significance, important, anything that lasts, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes work. Most importantly, it takes a willingness to assume the risk associated with trying to accomplish a worthy goal. Because whenever you try to accomplish something important, there's always a chance you fail. And a lot of people are afraid to try to do something good because they don't want to face the hurt and heartache happens if you fall short. And when you get involved in politics today, you're running a risk of getting attacked. The cancel culture mob, they come after Barry now. But they also come after people like you. You're in business. You're a conservative. You talk about it and you help conservatives in office. Man, they'll come at, they'll try to boycott you sometimes. So God bless you for getting off the sidelines and getting in the game. Only in the game can you make a difference. We appreciate that so much. And when I told the group this morning as well, I said, the way normal people in South Alabama see things and the way the elite national press sees things is a little different, right? And the press is going to come after you. I mean, even sometimes you're running for local school board. You're standing up for traditional values. They're going to come after you. But there's a great line Cal Thomas has, syndicated columnist. He has a great line when he talks about the way normal people see things and the way the elite, the New York Times and the Washington Post, the way they view things. And Mr. Thomas has a great line. He says, I get up every morning, I read my Bible in the New York Times so I can see what each side's up to. A lot of truth to that. So thank you for being in the game. Second, thank you for helping Barry Moore. There are, you can clap for Barry. You should. There are people in politics who you wish weren't, right? Call them Democrats, right? Yeah. But then there are people like Barry and Heather Moore who you are glad chose public service. They care about the things you care about. They care about and fight for the things that made our country special and different and the best country ever in the first place. They're willing to go fight for those things. And I tell anytime his name's on the ballot, anytime he's running for office, you just keep sending him there because he truly is. I said, anytime he's on the ballot, you keep voting for him because he truly is fighting for the things you care about. We make this job too complicated. It's pretty basic if you're running for public office and you're in public office. I think the objective of the job is do what you told them you were going to do. You put your name on the ballot, you go out and talk to the voters, they make basically a contract you form. If, in fact, they elect you, go do what you said. And Barry does that. So thank you. You know who else does that? President Trump. That's right. I saw this nice shirt here. No, certainly the best president we've had in my lifetime. I feel fortunate. I've gotten to know him. I've gotten close to him. I so appreciate this guy. He is as tough as they come. He's as American as they come. But I don't know that any president who did what I just described, did what he said he would do more than President Trump when he was in office. I mean, he told us he was going to cut taxes. He did. He told us he's going to reduce regulations. He did. He told us he was going to build a wall. He did. He told us he was going to put conservatives on the court. He did. Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett. Life decision was because of President Trump, right? Most pro-life president we've ever had. He told us he was going to put the embassy in Jerusalem, and he did. Every single president, probably for as long as I've been voting, and I've been voting a while, whether they're Republican or Democrat, when they ran for the job, they said, if you elect me, I'll put the embassy in Jerusalem. And then they get elected, and all those, folks at the State Department who think they're smarter than us country folk, they give them all these reasons. Well, I know you told the American people you were going to do that, but you really shouldn't, and here's why. And they give them all these excuses. And all of them listen to the bureaucrats and the deep state, or whatever you want to call them, except for President Trump. And President Trump said, well, I told the American people I was going to put the embassy in Jerusalem. Why don't I just do what I said? Well, and he did it. And I would argue the reason we got the Abraham Accords, the reason we actually had peace when we had President Trump in the Oval Office is because he kept his word and people saw that laid the foundation for what we were able to achieve with the Abraham Accords and in foreign policy. And you know what's interesting? When President Trump was in office, you didn't have Hezbollah and Hamas attacking our dearest and best friend, the state of Israel. Mike Pompeo, a friend of ours, Mike was President Trump's first year in the CIA, then he was Secretary of State. But when Putin goes into Ukraine about a year and a half ago, Mike's doing an interview, and they asked Mike a question, and they said, Mr. Secretary, would this have happened? Would Putin Ukraine when President Trump? There we go. Would this have happened under President Trump? And Mike's a smart guy. I mean, he was number one in his class at West Point. Number one in his class at Harvard Law Review, great member of Congress, successful businessman. I mean, like I said, ran the CIA. They asked him the question, would this have happened under President Trump? And Mike gave the best answer. He says, the short answer is, I don't know. But I do know this, it didn't happen under President Trump. And that sort of says it all. Yeah, this guy is, I just like him. I mean, think what he's been through. Think what they've tried to do. You talk about weaponization of government, you can use just Trump as the example. I mean, they've come after all of us. You're parents, you're terrorists, you're pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist. Now they want to censor you and all this stuff that we've been digging through and uncovering in our committee work. But think about what they've done to President Trump. They spied on his campaign. Then it was the first special counsel Mueller, $30 million, 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents digging through everything to find nothing. 2.5 years putting the country through that. No collusion, no conspiracy, no coordination whatsoever between Trump's campaign and Russia. None. But it took 2.5 years of that. We all knew that on the front end, right? We could have told you saved us $30 million and all the hassle, right? Then, of course, it was the impeachment. Then it was Jack Smith raiding his home, 2 special counsel indictments. Now it's the 14th Amendment. They're trying to keep him off the ballot. I mean, they're really coming after this guy. And the reason they're coming after him, and he says it best. Polly and I were with him out in Iowa a couple weeks ago. He says it best. He has this great line whenever he talks out talking to the American people. He said, they're coming after me because I'm fighting for you. And he actually changed it in Iowa. I liked the change he made. We were at a rally with him on a couple Sundays ago when it was 21 below zero, by the way. We'll take overcast in this temperature. But at that event, he said, they're coming after my freedom because I'm fighting for yours. And that is so true. What this guy, and that's what we have to do. Go talk to every friend and family member you have and make sure they come out and vote for President Trump. He's just that good. And plus I was talking earlier. I said he's so American. I mean, he thinks he hates to lose. Have you noticed that? And that's a good quality. Like Americans, we're not losers, we're winners, right? Americans, we like, I would say, in Europe, they told the folks who started this place, in Europe, they told them, they said, you got to practice your faith a certain way. And they said, no, we don't. No, we don't. And we're willing to risk it all, get on a ship, go to this place called America where we can practice our faith the way we think the good Lord wants us to. And we can chase down our goals and dreams, and we can go pursue the things that we think have real meaning to us. That's the folks who started this place. And it's an attitude. And some people argue it's in our DNA. I think there's probably some truth to that. Americans are risk takers. They're tough. They hate to lose. And President Trump has that. And he believes in we the people. He truly does. And that's why the establishment, the swamp, whatever you want to call them, that's why they go after him so darn hard. Because he cares about us normal folks who just want to chase down our goals, have our rights respected the way we're supposed to as American citizens. I appreciate that. Plus, I just appreciate his humor. Remember when he was one of the first big international thing, the G20 summit he goes to? And this is probably 2017, 2018 and there's all the dignitaries are walking out and Trump, he kind of walks out and just moves everyone, just kind of and sort of steps up to the front. And it was basically like saying there's a new sheriff in town and the United States is back, right? It was so true. And then Barry and I always laugh about some of the funny things that have happened. I remember Polly and I, the night they raided his home, that's a night that was just not a good day for America. I mean, because this never happened in our great country. And you got the FBI raiding the former president of the United States home on the classified documents issue. For goodness sakes, he was the president. He can determine what gets classified and what doesn't. Unlike Joe Biden, who was not. He was the United States senator when a bunch of this stuff. But anyway, they're raiding his home, and Polly and I, we're just on our deck, and we're watching TV, and we're like, I told her, I said, I can't believe this. I said, I'm just going to call him. So I call him up, and he answers the phone. He's always just so funny, because the first thing he says is, Jim, it's the best thing that ever happened to our party. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you're taking the positive view, Mr. President, but even they're raiding your home. And it's true, it's helped him politically, but it's dangerous precedent where the left wants to go, particularly with the Department of Justice and how they've, I think, again, weaponized it. But that's his attitude. The day they took his mugshot, I talked to him that day too, and I asked him. I said, Mr. President, I said, how you doing? He says, Jim, those T-shirts we're making of my mother, they're selling like crazy. He's amazing in his attitude. He called me that we were. This is probably 5 years ago now. Back during the Mueller stuff. When Bob Mueller and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, I remember all that stuff that was going on, all that baloney. And so I'm actually in the Capitol, and he calls, and so I duck into this room, and there's a kind of a table there, and I'm just sort of pacing around the table, and we're talking, and we're talking about the Mueller investigation and all this going on, because there were a handful of us in Congress who thought this was BS, and we started speaking out against it. And Devin Nunes was one of the guys who was working with this club. I mean, just did great work. Devin did. And so we're talking about it, but at some point in the conversation, I said, Mr. President, I don't know how I got on. I said, Mr. President, I know what I get. I know how CNN and MSNBC and these, I know how they lie about me, and they say all kinds of just garbage and baloney. It's not true. And I said, I know what I get. I said, but you get it 1,000 times worse. You get it worse than anyone. You get it every second of every stinking day, it seems. And there was a little pause, which never really happens much when you're talking to the president. There's never really a pause in the conversation. It's like he's full tilt. And there's a little pause, and then he goes, well, Jim, what are we going to do? Go over in the corner, get in a fetal position, start sucking our thumb? He goes, we got to fight back. And I'm like, I agree, Mr. President. Let's keep fighting. That is an American attitude. That is the attitude you all have. And just as importantly, that's the attitude that Barry Moore has. He is fighting hard for you all. And like I said, he cares about the things you care about. That's why some of you who've had kind of a newer part of the district here, but you know what he's like, and that's why you're out here supporting him. He's that kind of guy. And I want to again thank you. We're going to let Barry come up here. And unfortunately, I got to leave. Polly and we got to run to an event for another Alabaman that we're helping up in the northern part. This is the first time I've been to Alabama, but we're seeing the whole darn state this weekend. You got a great place. And we're going to go help another one of your guys up in Gary Palmer up in northern part of up near Birmingham, I guess we're heading to now. But there's no one finer than Barry Moore. And as Heather said, they've become good friends of Polly and I. We valued friendship. Good. Heather can campaign. Maybe the only candidate might be a smidgen even better than Barry's. Heather, holy cow, she can campaign too. But Barry Moore is a dear friend. He's a good man, and you know that. So make sure you help him out here in 5.5 weeks, and make sure he's the next guy that's going to be staying in Washington, fighting for the things that we all care about. God bless you all. God bless our great country, and God bless Barry and Heather Moore. There you go, buddy. Thank you.
Y'all, what a great American, Jim Jordan, right? He is working all the time to save this great nation. And I got to tell you a story, and I won't take long. I know you guys came to see Jim, but I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you being here. Actually, you may have come to see Heather, right? Didn't even come to see me? But so Jim is chair of Judiciary Committee, and Newt Gingrich said that's going to be the most consequential committee in Congress right now because we're on the weaponization of the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS, those agencies that are coming after your liberty. Well, Jim pulls me aside on the floor. This has been about 2 years ago, right before the August recess, before I was reelected. He said, Barry, he said, would you join the Judiciary Committee? And I looked at him. I said, Jim, I said, I'm a garbage man from Batten's Crossroads. I said, I'm not an attorney. Are you sure that you would even want me on your team? He said, man, he said, Chuck Grassley's a farmer. He said, he does a heck of a job in the Senate. He said, and we need you in the fight. And so I kind of went in a different approach. I'm just a country boy. I'm like, so in those questions, I wasn't asking the lawyer stuff. I was like, Mayorkas, sir, why are we finding so many IDs south of the U.S. southern border? Because people were throwing their IDs down before they came here. They didn't want us to know who they were. And I asked Christopher Wray of the FBI, I said, tell me, Mr. Wray, you're the director of the FBI. Why would y'all offer Christopher Steele $1 million to verify the Russian collusion dossier? And by the way, Steele couldn't collect a dime. $1 million they offered that man because the DNC and Hillary Clinton started that whole narrative on Trump. Christopher Steele couldn't collect a nickel. That same FBI, when they couldn't pay Christopher Steele in the next election cycle, went to Twitter and said, we'll pay you $3 million if you'll quieten the Hunter Biden laptop story. The governments are trying to play in our elections. And I tell everybody all the time, the fight is not in Washington, D.C., folks. It's with Washington, D.C. We've got to protect your liberty. That's our number one job, and Jim talks about that all the time. And so even, one of the things, Heather, we were getting ready for the committee, and I'm talking to my staff. I said, Heather, I said, we've got the DOJ. I mean, we've got actually Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, coming in tomorrow. She said, well, just ask him one question, Barry, at the end of your question. Says, ask him, is it against the law just to question an election in America now? That was all I asked the man. He had it like he was hard of hearing. I had to repeat the question 4 times before he finally said, no, it is not against the law to question an election. However, that's what they're going after everybody in Georgia for, right? Just asking. We just want to know if the election was fair. And so it's been an honor to serve with Jim on that committee. He is fighting for our liberty. We are members of the House Freedom Caucus. I've been called a chaos cowboy, and y'all know that's okay because there's about 40 of us in Washington, D.C. It's the House Freedom Caucus, folks. Jim was one of the founding members. Mark Meadows was one of the founding members. Those are the people in the room that if this nation is saved, will save it. We're not there to gain the power. We're not there to go along with the lobbyists. We are simply there to save this nation. Jim and Polly could ride off in the sunset, and my gosh, they worked so hard. He says it'll be 10 weekends before he sees his home in Ohio because he's fighting to save this nation. And so y'all keep our nation in your prayers. Thank you for kind of sticking through this weather today and coming out. It's so encouraging. Remember, March 5th, we got a nation to save, right? So y'all get out and vote Super Tuesday and vote for Barry Moore and Donald Trump. And we can put this thing back on track. It's going to take a lot of prayer. It's going to take a lot of courage. The swamp don't want Trump back. They don't want me back. They're spending a bunch of money to keep us out of there. But we're in the fight for you. Y'all keep us in your prayers. This nation's going to be fine. Thank you for coming today. God bless you. And have a great weekend.
Did you leave it on? Everybody has to leave here with a yard sign to put in your yard. Take one for your neighbor if you want to. Also, Barry and I will be here for however long if you guys want to talk to Barry and ask questions or whatever. But so please hang around and chat with us and meet us if you haven't already. And thank you so much to the Waters family. They are fantastic, and this farm is fantastic. I hate that the weather did not cooperate, but that's okay too. So hang around and meet us, chat with us, grab a yard sign on your way out, and just feel free to mingle around for a little bit. We love y'all. Thank you.